Manchester City are suing the Premier League for damages over the allegations made against them. The Premier League wants an end to the associated party transaction law that they've been accused of cheating. Their claim is it's unlawful based on the Competitions Act. They're looking for support from other Premier League teams. The hearing starts in 10 days, but this is an unprecedented move that could change the landscape of English football forever. But Man City sue the Premier League, which we'll throw out, they are 1/20th of, so they are kind of suing themselves at the same time. But LB, I want to go to you first, mate. Obviously, your club, the hearing against your allegations starts in 10 days' time, and City have dropped this bomb in by suing the Premier League.
Yeah, it's wild, man. As City fan base, we've been asking what are City going to do about this situation, because obviously, like, City obviously not happy with the whole rules. And if you've read, I don't know if everyone's had time to read the article because it has obviously only just dropped, but there are some heavy statements in there from City. You know, City feel that like these rules are a direct target towards clubs that are owned by owners in the Gulf states. So basically, he's looking at City and Newcastle there as well. I mean, we all know the rules that came in place back in sort of January time. It was effectively that, you know, some of it was, well, I don't know when it came in actually, but you know, they don't want clubs to have these sponsorship deals, do they, with associated parties? And City are obviously challenging it and think it's unlawful. Is it unlawful? I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer. But you know, there's a lot of money being spent on it. I'm seeing here that apparently the Premier League legal bill has gone up 300% in the last 12 months. That's their legal costs. So obviously this is popping off. There's huge news here. We've also got news leaked that this 115 charges, which are separate to what's going to happen next week, starts in November and will run for 6 weeks. That is separate, though, as much as the article does talk about it. It is a separate thing. So at the moment, bro, just sort of like City feel like what these rules are unlawful, and if City feel like they're unlawful rules, City have the right to challenge them. Now, whether or not City are going to be, you know, get the go ahead and say you are right, these rules are unlawful, don't know. That's up for the lawyers to decide. But if City feel that they're unlawful, City got the right to challenge them. There are some stuff in the article that I don't know how City would win the case. Like, there's part of what they're challenging is they're trying to overturn the, you know, how to make a rule change, you need 14 clubs to agree to it. City is saying that's not right. They want to overturn that. I don't know how. I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer, but just from like just a layman's point of view, I don't know how you're going to be able to win that, because at the end of the day, the clubs vote for it. Like that they are the rules. But in terms of these associated party transactions, we're going to find out who's right. Are City lawyers right? City is saying that it's unlawful. The Premier League is saying that it is lawful. It's up to the lawyers to fight out and say. Well, what is encouraging in there? It says there are a couple of clubs that are backing City, a couple of clubs that think that actually City will win. There are a lot of clubs that are back in the Premier League. I don't know. What I will say, this is just a complete mess, by the way. This whole thing just brings the Premier League into such a messy situation. And now we just have to wait to see. I guess the good news is, unlike the 115, we're going to find out quite quickly, because this hearing starts next Monday and it lasts 2 weeks. And the 115 wait for years. So,
well, yeah, I mean, obviously, but this is part of why the 115 has taken so long. I know City fans don't like hearing this, but it's factually true. The reason it's taken this long is because City have been directly responsible for delaying it, and they're trying to delay it again now, because if they can get it passed in a court of law, the rules that they've essentially been charged for breaking are unlawful, then their case will collapse. If you can, do you get what, you know, if I'm on a charge for anything, and then I take the law to court, the government to court, and say this law is ridiculous, and the judge rules and the country says, yeah, actually that rule shouldn't have ever stood, you're not then going to go to prison because you've won that case. So I get what City are doing. The City are very much, I mean, I do and I don't. It's if you've got unequivocal evidence that you've done nothing wrong, which Khaldoon has said. He's made that statement on a couple of occasions that they are innocent and they have not broke these rules. They haven't broke the rules. They're one of the wealthiest clubs in the world without breaking the rules. They're winning everything without breaking the rules. The rules haven't stopped City from becoming one of the most powerful clubs in the world. Why get the rule change if you haven't broke the law?
Well, City is saying, why should a third party decide how much a sponsorship value is worth?
So I understand that claim, but you've got to remember, Man City, along with all the other clubs, voted these rules in 10 plus years ago. And at no point up until being charged have they tried to sue the Premier League. So I understand that. It's a fair point and it's a fair cop. But as I remember asking you this question many months ago, people say the FFP is designed to stop small clubs becoming big clubs. City say they've got unequivocal, undeniable evidence they didn't cheat against these rules. Whether they like the rules or not, they said we didn't do it. If you didn't do any of it, these rules haven't stopped you from getting to this side. So I don't understand the claim. That's my issue.
Well, we don't understand the claim, but what people are saying is for City to, because City are claiming damages as well. They're not just trying to get the rule changed, they're claiming damages. So if you're claiming damages, that means that it has affected you because you've got to show a damage. So if that has affected Manchester City,
reputationally, of course, yes. City will look
at
this
a sponsorship deal as well,
damage.
though, Terry. That's what people are saying. It's impacted a sponsorship deal. So it appears that maybe City have had a sponsorship deal done, and then the Premier League have said, no, that's
maybe
not too much. So if again, it comes down to believing, should a third party, and this is what City is saying, this third party, I forget the name, but it is in the article. I don't know if you can pull it up. Should a third party be able to dictate what a sponsorship value is? Surely it's up to the company that's sponsoring to decide that. Now I know you'll get into the things of, well, yeah, but if that company has links to the owner or whatever, well,
see, I'm not again. You know my view. You know my views on that, LB. I'm not against it. Never have been. My view is we have to protect football clubs from themselves because of the debts they can run up. Question here from Peter says, Man City did not vote for the FFP, Terry. Well, there's no FFP in England. It's profit and sustainability rules. So City didn't, maybe City voted against it, but City have agreed to be part of the Premier League. When you're part of the Premier League, you are agreeing to the rules of the 14 club vote rule. So they have signed up to these rules and these laws. City could have left. City did not need to be part of the Premier League. They have chosen to be. And that is a choice that they have made. Same as us three and here are YouTubers. We choose to comply with YouTube's rules and regulations. It's as simple as that. We have a choice. We don't need to be YouTubers, but we decide that's what we're going to do. So look, City can't just sit here and suddenly say, oh, the whole world's always been against us. You've voted and you've taken part. Would they be suing them if they hadn't been charged by the Premier League? I don't know. And listen, I'm not surprised the other clubs supporting them. There will be other billionaire owners of clubs. Listen, Man United are owned by Ineos. Do people know how wealthy Ineos, the company, are? I'd love Ineos to start pumping £1 billion a year their own money into Manchester United. We'd never have a financial problem ever again. We could build a 200,000 seater stadium, no problems. So again, I'm not against it. I've got very wealthy owners coming into my club as well, but we have to protect people. Potsy, what do you make of all of this? How do you see it from a City point of view? Do you see this as some people are saying this is an admission of guilt? How do you personally see it?
Wow. I don't know what way do I go with this. Do I look at it as admission of guilt in the respect that you just put it, Terry, which was articulately put? If I say so myself, I think I will look at it in that way for some reasons, in that, oh yeah, we kind of have been breaking it, but, well, we think the law is wrong, so we're going to go down that route. Or do they believe they've done absolutely nothing wrong, and they're like, we're going to prove we've done nothing wrong, so we're going to come for you because we've got evidence to prove that we're innocent. And we're going to come for you now and try and sue you and take you for as much as we can. What way is it? We don't know. With Pep Guardiola's future up in the air, with KDB linked with Saudi Arabia, a lot of people are going to be saying, yeah, City are in the mud and this is the start of what's going to be terrible. No more Pep, no more KDB. And they'll be playing Stockport soon. But I think that's a lot of what rival fans are kind of praying and hoping. I really don't think that's going to happen, if I'm honest with you. Nobody knows, man. Nobody actually knows. We can all have an opinion on what we think. We can all have a look at, Hassam will be here. Big up to Hassam, hoping and praying, because I know he's been very, very vocal about Manchester City and 115. I know there's a few other fans that have. The reason I haven't is because I have not got enough evidence to prove which way it is. I don't know enough about the ins and outs of it. And if I'm honest with you, my interest forms more on what's happening on the pitch as opposed to the whole 115 thing. But there's a lot of people that are really in for it. And trust me, if they've done wrong, they should have the book chucked at them. But I can't say that they have or haven't. Now, what does this look like from the outside looking in? They better hope that they've done nothing wrong if they're coming out with this statement. That's all I'm saying. They better hope now Man City have not got anything wrong at all. They better hope they are 100% squeaky clean. Otherwise, they're going to look stupid because they're coming to sue the Premier League. And then they're now going to go, actually, we were guilty for 115 now, and we've been chucked out of the league and stripped the title, whatever the hell it's going to be. So, mate, how do you look at this one? I mean, I've got to say, from a Man City point of view, if you trust your CEO and you trust the people that are in part of the club that are saying you've done nothing wrong, you'd be chill, relaxed. I can't wait to put everybody in the mud who's been doubting us this is going to go well. If you're not sure, then it might be squeaky bum time. That's all I'm saying.
I get the arguments that LB has put up 100%. My job as a host is to ask questions and try and dig a bit deeper. I get that they feel their state and they feel discriminated against. They feel that nobody should be able to dictate what a third party dictate the valuation of things. But we have to be very careful here of that happens in every walk of life. So LB, I don't know if you own a house or not, but when you go to own a house, the mortgage company agrees to lend you money. You make an offer to the house, and then an independent third party comes and values the house and says how much it's really worth, so that either you're not overpaying to make sure the mortgage isn't too high for you, to make sure there isn't problems there. So there are multiple examples in life where a third party completes the valuation of a deal. So I think that, again, I just want to be really kind of balanced, but I understand how City feel, and it's just come out here again from the same article that at least one other Premier League club has submitted a witness statement in support of Manchester City for next week's arbitration hearing, whilst more than half of the clubs have sided with the Premier League on this one. And look, I'm so looking forward to all of these cases, not because the Man United fan in me would kind of like City to be found guilty, I'm not going to lie, but it's more about actually understanding what's going on, because the problem that I've had with this all along is that too many people like Hussam have been convinced they're 100% guilty. And then you get some individuals that are like, absolutely not, it's a witch hunt. Where I do actually think, looking at this situation, being objective about it, I've got just a gut feeling reading this article. I've read it twice now, looking at the snippets. For me, there's a bit of an admission of guilt, because they want the rule changed that they're now being accused of breaking.
But that's not true though, Terry, because this rule was brought in 2021, and the 115 charges end in 2018. This is a separate thing. This is not related. This is associated sponsorship deals, and this only came in 2021 when Newcastle were bought.
Sorry, but there's been an amendment. So City have been charged with, and they've been investigated for things that are over a decade old through their owner pumping money into sponsors and then the sponsors paying the club. That's what those emails leaked are all about. Now, there's been amendments and new rules brought in since then, but they're essentially, when you boil them down, they all relate to the same issue, which is clubs having sponsorship deals that are either too above market value, seen as too lucrative, or the company sponsoring you and not actually pumping money into you. Your owner is just siphoning money in from the back door. Again, that was my interpretation of reading these things. So I can see it, and why people would say, well, they're trying to get the rules changed for the things they're kind of being accused of. If
Do you
they can
not think,
get,
though, Terry, that the rules that have been implemented have actually benefited Man City? Like, for me, Newcastle have come in and they could quite rightly, with 400 billion in the bank, go sign. And they've stopped that from happening. So Man City, if I'm a City fan, I'm thinking, thank God for that. We've got our squad. Everyone else is trying to catch up with us.
I agree. This is what I've always found interesting about the City fans in this. I hear what LB's saying, and LB could be right, and I'm being as objective as I can be. The one element I don't get about City is they say that this is to protect the cartel clubs. I'm like, bro, you're part of that gang. You're acting like you're not, but you're there in the sense of, you say you're innocent, which means you've built this squad organically. It's new ownership, like City, Newcastle.
No, but that's right though. But again, that's not right though, is it?
It is, and it isn't. And I stand by what I've said all along about FFP. I think City are an outlier. I think Man City are an outlier where their owners have come in. Whether you like what Man City's owners stand for in terms of what their rules and laws within their nation, that's another conversation that I'm not personally having on the terrace. In terms of how they've run Man City, if they are innocent, which they are until they're proven guilty, they have run the club impeccably well. No one has stated that more often than me, and I stand by it. there's been so many multi-millionaire and billionaire owners of clubs, though, that have run clubs awfully. And the problem that you have, if you just allow endless, bottomless spending without checks and balances, I think we could see a vat of football clubs across Europe and the UK go out of business. And I think there has to be something in place to protect it. I think we've spoken about it before. I think City's owners would do this, where you turn around and go, right, whatever your exposure, so money that you owe over a 5 to 10 year period, say it's 4 billion quid, you've got to put 4 billion pound into a pot of cash that sits there, that can't be touched by you ever again, that protects your club in case anything happens, your country's sanctioned, the owner passes away, rules change, whatever it may be. That then I wouldn't, you get no moaning from me, because then the club is protected. My whole argument is we have to protect these clubs. I just shudder to think at all these poor owners and the further debts that some of these clubs would have been in had they been able for the last decade to spend whatever they wanted to, offer out whatever contracts they want. There has to be checks and balances. Equally, I think that there is room to allow clubs to spend more money as long as the club's being protected. So I think there is right and wrong on both sides in these arguments. Personally, I think that owners should be able to pump money into a football club. My thing is the money should be not everlasting, but there should be enough there to protect them in case somebody pulls away.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But on this subject matter that's broken today, the question is, should a random third party be able to tell another company what they're allowed, what they can spend on a sponsorship deal? Is that right?
Yes.
I don't. Why?
To a degree. So
if you want to sponsor Football Terrace, right? You want to put it on a billboard, right? And the billboard company says 100 quid a day. But you get them told you're not allowed to spend 100 quid a day because it's not worth it, so you can't do it. Is that right? Okay. They're not allowed to sponsor the football. Who is anyone? So it depends.
It depends on the laws, and that's why this case is going to be really interesting, because there are competition laws, but they work on multiple levels. There's only so much amount of advertising and money that's allowed to be spent by big companies, for instance, in multiple industries. They can't have a monopoly on the system. So competition laws work on every level. So the reason why I say yes, I'm going to caveat it though with context. If there's no rules in place for how much owners can pump into their football club, then no, then you don't need a third party. If clubs can spend whatever they want, their owners can put in whatever they want, you wouldn't need a third party, because your club wouldn't be getting an extortionate sponsorship deal from a company that doesn't make any products. Your owner would just pump the money in. So you wouldn't need it. The reason it's needed is because the Premier League and UEFA and FIFA believe, it isn't just City, that clubs are getting sponsorship deals that are being backfilled by their ownership. So they have an independent sort of adjudicator or valuer that looks at it and says, well, this company turns over X amount of money. City's fan base is this size. It's a 5-year deal. How comes it's worth 400% more than Real Madrid's most recent deal? I think we should live in a world where there is that type of regulation to make sure that, and I'm not just talking about what City are being accused of. We have to make sure that football clubs are not being used to launder money. And this happens in all walks of life where big money is involved. Look at just having the Standard Charter. Turns out they've been doing a lot of bad things because the regulators haven't done a good enough job looking after what they're doing. It looks like they've been processing loads of money for exceedingly bad people. And I think that there has to be checks and balances. I'm not looking at this purely through the lens of Manchester City. I'm looking at it at large. We have to ensure there is not bribery. We have to make sure there isn't blackmail. We have to make sure there isn't money laundering in the sport at large. But that independent company that's being used, they have to be reputable. They have to be fair. They have to be independent. So I do think there's room for those individuals if you have a rule that states the deals have to be within market value and owners can't pump in whatever they want to have in the game. I think you have to have someone to do. Otherwise, you've got a rule that can't be measured.
Okay, but let me I need to pull you up on that though. So let's just use, I don't know, let's use Sky as an example. Right? Say Sky wanted to sponsor Man United, yeah? And Sky wanted to give Man United £100 million a year. And this third party says, nope, that's too much. It's only worth 60. Who are they to tell Sky what they're allowed to spend on this? But it's Sky's money. If Sky want to put the money in, they want to sponsor Man United. Bro. Who is this random company to say?
But they're not a random. But they're not a random company. It isn't John from down the pub who's been sent up there to give his.
Nothing to do with Sky. Who are they to tell Sky that they can't spend the money on it?
It'll be to do with experts within that industry. Okay, so it's no different to having, you know, health and safety turn up on a building site. They're trained and they understand what they're looking for. They're there to make sure that the building is being built within the regulations of the country or the state of which they're being built in. So these will be highly qualified individuals. There are reasons that you need it if there are rules in place. If there's no rules, if there's no laws, then I agree with you. But if you're going to have a rule and the Premier League clubs have voted that things have got to be within market value, you've got to have an independent adjudicator, because you don't want the Premier League assessing it, as an example. But at the same time, you know, for me, this isn't about Sky or Nike offering far too much money. All the independent major companies that do the shirt sponsors, the manufacturers, none of these companies are being accused. All the people being accused are companies that are sponsoring City, say £10 million, don't have offices, don't have employees, don't sell products, don't offer services, but yet they're pumping £10 million in.